Feeling alive this 4th of July weekend, soaking up the freedom here in America. Got back late last night, was in Cabo San Lucas. Got back in time for this morning's show, and we're going to be talking freedom. It always feels so good. I always feel so alive when I come back in, and I always feel alive when I come in here on a Saturday morning. Doesn't matter if I'm shaking off a hangover from Cabo San Lucas or a rough Friday night. When I come back in here on Saturday morning to be with you guys here on Facebook Live and here on KHTK, I feel great. So I am here today talking about freedom. It's 4th of July weekend, and what does freedom feel like to you? What is freedom? I'm here with Marcus Haney. We are missing our good buddy, Mr. Tom Cisneros. He is enjoying a little freedom, a little R&R, a little work in Florida with SSI, running a tech show. But Marcus and I are here with you, and we're going to be talking freedom. Marcus, what does freedom feel like to you?
Wow, great question starting off the morning. I'm going to say that freedom is the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want. I hear you say that all the time on the show.
For as long as you want to do it.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people have the misconception that freedom is easy to get. Freedom is earned, folks.
Yeah.
Some people are anchored down by their job, anchored down by their debt. That's not freedom. Freedom, you got to get out there and earn that freedom.
And freedom feels different, I think, to each of us. Sometimes freedom feels like a relief. Like you've got this weight off your back and I'm free. And sometimes freedom feels energizing, like you're a stallion ready to break out of the corral and you're ready to run. And sometimes freedom can feel like you're full of pride, right? You're feeling great about things and you're able to exercise that independence. And it feels good. And I think freedom is a innately human characteristic that we all sort of strive for. And Marcus, you talked about freedom to do whatever you want. It's a freedom to make decisions, right? Freedom to do whatever you want. And so there's financially free, debt free. Sometimes free time is a big deal. I know early on Kent Brown was talking about, I think, freedom to own a gun, right? There's different kinds of freedom to express yourselves. And I was in Cabo and thinking about, I was with Tom Cisneros, Tom Candrus, Package One, and some other buddies down there, and we were talking about what freedom meant to us, and we're just kind of looking out over the waves and kind of contemplating life and thinking about, what we've done in our lives and how working hard has kind of helped us. And it was very gratifying to be hanging out and just enjoying some of that freedom. And today on the show we're going to be talking about freedom, but I think back also to last week's show, Ethan Conrad, he was on the show, and Ethan owns over $1 billion in commercial retail here in Sacramento. Yeah, he is very unique, I think, though. He's got this freedom, yet he works 80 hours a week. He works 80 hours a week. He does drive a nice car, but he works this 80-hour-a-week schedule, and that's freedom to Ethan. So I think to each of us, freedom looks a little bit different, and I think that's really what this show is all about, is helping young business guys, even some of us older business guys, to try to figure out how to achieve that freedom, what life is really all about, what freedom might mean to us. And sometimes when you hear from some old guys like me and then some young guys like Marcus, you get a little bit of inspiration. Maybe it gives you a little bit of courage to take that risk. Coming up in the show, we're going to meet some guys who are living the dream. We are going to meet Andy Klein, president and the co-founder of Monk Cellar. He is working on creating some freedom for himself. He's got a very cool brewery in downtown Roseville. But after the break, we're going to be talking freedom with Warren Smith. president and co-founder of the Sac Republic FC. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, broadcasting from Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at HaneyBiz.com. Welcome back, and we are here with Warren Smith, the president and co-founder of the Sacramento Republic FC. How you doing today, Warren?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for coming down. Now we're talking a little bit about freedom, and today we're going to talk a little bit about soccer, right? The Sac Republic FC is our town's soccer team. Let's talk about the Republic, though, to start off with. What's going on with the Republic these days?
Well, we're in our third season and continuing to build a club and compete, and then of course make our case to Major League Soccer and hopefully accomplish that here in the
now
near
you
future.
guys, you've got I guess multiple facets to what you're doing, right? You've got a soccer team, which is fun, but it's also a business. Let's talk about the business a little bit, because when I go to a Sac Republic game, I mean, I'm usually thinking about, I'm a customer, right? I'm there as a customer, and so I look around at the fan experience a little bit when you walk in and what it feels like. Talk to us about the experience that a fan gets when he walks in to Bonnie Field.
Well, we can't. Everybody's experience is a little bit different, but what we try to do is create an environment where they can actually have, put smiles on their faces and ultimately have a good time. It's all around the game.
Right.
Which is different than most sports where you're, from our experience, these fans really just want to come and watch 45 minutes, 2 times of the sport that they love. But, we hopefully what we're doing is creating an atmosphere where people can actually grow relationships and bring their friends create a neighborhood, if you will, within their little seating section.
Right. Now you talk about the grow relationships. So when they walk in, it's families, right? So who's your customer?
Well, we have different segments, but I'd say that's a very interesting question because it's changing. Our original customer was on average 38 years old. Now it's down to 34 years old.
Oh, it's getting younger.
From a season ticket standpoint, yes. And we always knew that it would get younger. If you look at Major League Soccer, their average customer base, season ticket holders, 28 years old. So it's really a millennial sport, right? The kids, have played the sport, grew up with it, and now want to participate in it. But the interesting thing is how so many other people are adapting to it and enjoying it and having a great time with it, and may not have played soccer themselves. So we have the purists, and then we have the people that are just kind of to learn the game.
Yeah.
And they're just for fun, and which is really kind of neat to see those two segments collide, if you will.
Well, I remember walking in and feeling like a courtyard area where the food trucks and food vendors are around, and you've got the beer vendors, and there's kind of a place to hang out and spend time with your family or spend time with your friends, and grow those relationships. How important is that outside? And then you walk into the stadium and it feels a little bit different. But people gather in those other areas.
That's the desire, right? We want to. If you look at the game, it's really on an hour and a half long, and the whole event is really a 2-hour event. We'd love people to come earlier and have a great time. Maybe sit down, have a little dinner, and then beers with some friends, and go in and watch the game and stick around afterwards.
It feels safe too. You're walking around, and there's if you go to an Oakland Raider football game, it might not feel as family friendly. You come into a Republic game and it's like, wow, these guys look like people I want to be hanging around with. It's cool.
Well, it's fun, but I don't know if you you might not have made the LA game last year where we lost the playoffs.
I did not.
It was fascinating to see how much people have come to love this club and to be upset, that we didn't win, and upset that it really LA won. So it's really kind of interesting to see how people are really adopting to that and having a great time.
Yeah, now I think when you may have provided me some tickets, I think you gave me some VIP tickets last year, and I got to sit in the VIP section, which felt good, right? Hanging out with other business people and so on. And now have you guys expanded that area, or what's the now when you walk into the arena, what's it like?
Well, we made a couple changes this year. If you when you come into the stadium, we only had 5.3% of our tickets that were really that businesses would tend to use. And so we obviously, if we're going into a new stadium, you have to have 20 to 25% of your seats to actually be those kind of higher end seats. So we added some seats on the east side and the north side to allow that experience, and which is right on the field. But the VIP area is still about the same size, and but we did add a stage. Ovations added the stage this year because they wanted to have a concert. So you've got the middle area where people are 6 feet up in the air and kind of looking down on the field. It's provided a much nicer view than we had before.
Okay, but those concerts, they're not part of yours.
No, so
okay.
our partner, Ovations Food Service and Cal Expo, it's all type of festivals, not just concerts. They had the Bernie
Sanders?
Yeah, he had a rally out there. I didn't attend that.
You didn't go to that? You're not a Bernie Sanders guy?
I didn't say
Looks
that.
Like,
I didn't say that.
We're kind of on this show. It's not. We've intentionally tried to stay away from politics on this show. Our show is more about freedom and free enterprise and chasing your dreams. If that's in soccer, great. If that's in some other line of business, fantastic.
Amen.
So let's talk about, I've spent a lot of time talking about the fan experience and what it feels like there at Bonnie Field, and kind of setting up. You've been generous enough to offer some tickets for us to give away on the show.
That's
Never
right.
given away tickets on the show, but we have 2 sets of 4 tickets that can be available at will call to our first couple of callers. Thank you very much for offering that up. We got a phone number, actually, 800-920-1140 or 916-339-1140. Or you can go to haneybiz.com or, our Facebook page and tell us you want them there. The first couple of groups of 4 we'll get some tickets, which is extremely generous. Now, who are you guys playing tonight?
The Seattle Sounders, too.
Are they any good?
They're on the lower half of the table, but every team is good.
Perfect. It's a W then. Huh? Is it?
No. It doesn't work that way. Knock on wood. You're scaring me.
Yes. So a big part of this is creating this fan experience, but you've also got to put a great product on the field, right? And so how do you divide up your time in terms of, hey, I'm going to put this great business together, but I've also got to put some effort into making sure we have the right team.
Right. Well, it's no different than the businesses that you run. You hire great people. You meet with them about their goals, objectives, and lay out a plan with each one, and then you monitor how they're doing, what they're doing, and ultimately how they're accomplishing their own goals. And we're very blessed to have a new coach, and Paul Buckle is doing a great job. Graham Smith has been wonderful in helping him to identify talent. We're competing, frankly, with a league that is growing immensely. If you look at some of the teams, you got Seattle Sounders, LA, so a lot of MLS teams that actually own these teams and competing in our league. We also have some teams that are getting new. Houston partnered with Rio Grande Valley, who's a brand new team this year, and they were an awesome team. We were fortunate enough to get the victory, but ultimately, you're starting to see some really, really growth in talent in this league and getting a lot more competitive.
So partnering with an MLS team just makes you more strong.
Yeah, it's really a development tool, right? So if you want your first team players to grow, they need to play games.
Right.
And so that's how these MLS teams are really using it. And they're actually getting, their talent younger. They're growing talent like an academy, which we started this year. And the whole goal is to eventually find talent in our own community and then have them play on our first team, much like Cameron Owasa, who is from Sacramento and doing great, but he didn't really play in an academy. He didn't have the chance to.
What's Sacramento's younger talent look like?
It's actually pretty amazing. We have a catchment area that is we have 130,000 people that actually play the sport, and in the youth area it's like 83,000. It's between 70 and 90,000. I can't remember the exact number, but that's huge. If you look at the whole state of Oregon as an example, they have 35,000 people that actually play the sport. That's not even identifying the youth in that. So we're arguably, 3 times larger in size, just the amount of people that play the sport. And you have a bigger pool, you're going to get better players.
Right.
We've had 27 MLS players come through or from Sacramento. And, our youth team, our 18-year U team this year made the playoffs and is now going to Vancouver on the 7th
Wow.
to compete for the next round of playoffs and hopefully get to the championship.
That's incredible. So, one of our, kind of back to the business question,
Sure.
Mito Eldon, a buddy of mine, he's started an app called My Team Sphere, and it helps teams to communicate. But as a business person, I've always found that communication was so key to the success. And you were talking about how you meet with your senior leadership
Sure.
and help develop the strategies and how and run the business. What is do you have meeting rhythms that really help you guys to succeed?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we have weekly follow-ups with everyone, and it depends on what's going on with the departments and from their strategies or implementation, and where if we meet more. So right now we're to give you an example, we're looking at some partnerships with the youth soccer leagues. So we're trying to meet more and come up with a strategy and present them with something that we can actually help them grow talent even at younger ages. So, but yes, of course, rhythm's very important, and continue the diligence about following up and on the.
Now,
things
is
that
there
we talk
technology involved? Mito's got this app which helps teams to communicate, but within business, do you just do you meet face to face, or are you using technology to help drive communication?
All the above, right? So, and I love Beto's app. We've introduced him to our team, and it looks like we're going to be using that technology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to communicate with these the academy teams, their parents, and they build a little network of communication amongst themselves. It helps us get the information out. There's daily changes, things that we're asking the kids to work on, and so obviously using technology, but nothing beats face to face, right? And ultimately, making sure that you can see the body language around what if you can guess when people are scared or
body
maybe,
language, yes,
absolutely. It's
so important to be able to have that face to face. Now, do you meet with every employee within the organization?
No,
Okay.
There's no way I could.
How many employees are there?
We have 45 full time and 22 players currently. I will spend personal time throughout the year with each and one, but not from a weekly follow up.
Not on a weekly follow up,
right.
yeah. And just thinking about the field and how the MLS might change the location of the field. Right now, you're at Bonnie Field,
Right.
and I was thinking about Bonnie Field too because I see their trucks around. They've got the naming rights to your current field. Do you know the Bonnies? Do you know it's Bonnie Plumbing, right?
That's correct.
And you see their pictures on the side of the vehicles, and
Right.
they look like the nicest people in the world. They look so sweet.
And they are.
Are they really? That was my question. It's like,
Absolutely.
I don't know them, but they look like the perfect family, right?
They are. They are just the nicest people and a great partner of ours.
And how did you arrive? How did you get them to agree to the partnership?
Well, our business is to put smiles on people's faces, bring them in, and offer businesses the opportunity to grow their brand. And so they were very interested in growing their brand, and we one of our people, Brent Sasaki, had a great relationship with them to start with, and just started the conversation. And Jimmy Krebe, who was the CEO at the time, was actually played professional soccer in England, and I'm sorry, the team that just played yesterday in the Brussels area.
Oh, okay.
And so
you got a soccer background, yeah.
And so it was a way for them to actually accomplish their strategic goals and growth and develop a partnership that works.
And, the subject of today's show is about freedom, and really, I think, don't we all want the ability to grow as individuals, the ability to grow as a company, and just that freedom that is so uniquely American. Talk to us about what freedom looks like to Warren Smith.
Well, it's interesting when you were first starting to talk about it, and I was in the other room. I was starting to think about that, and I've come from a military background. My dad was in the Army, and so it means a lot to me, because there's a lot of people that gave everything to allow us to be able to do what we do and say what we want, and so freedom for me is really the chance to think and act in line with what we want to accomplish in our lives. And it doesn't mean to me that you can do everything, right? Because we have laws to follow, and but it does mean that we can, create and have the freedom to speak our minds. And as you know, in many countries you can't do that, and you're often told that this is what you're going to do with your life, and you may have to work in a factory and spend your whole life doing that. Well, here we have the freedom to actually experience something and make a change, and the free enterprise system allows us to really be free agents to accomplish what we want to accomplish in our lives.
Warren Smith, talking freedom, talking about the Sac Republic FC, our local soccer team. Warren, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. Great to have you here. You've done so much for our community and entrepreneurship, and you've, with the River Cats and other businesses that you've founded, and now with the Sac Republic. Thank you very much for doing that, and for coming on the show and being our friend today.
It's good to see you again.
You
Frankly,
bet.
anytime I'd love to come back, and I just want to also recognize that we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we. Kevin Nagel's done a great job in developing the stadium plan and putting an ownership group together. So we're really excited about what's going to be coming here in the near future.
This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited. Coming up in the show, we will have Andy Klein, president and co-founder of Monk's Cellars, a very cool brewery and restaurant in downtown Roseville. Again, this is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, broadcasting from Sports 1140, KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at HaneyBiz.com. Welcome back. We are here with Andy Klein, president and co-founder of Monk's Cellar, the very cool brewery and restaurant in my hometown, and he's in downtown Roseville. How you doing, Andy?
Doing great, Mark. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on the show today. Now, Monk's Cellars, I'm a regular there. Well, I wouldn't call myself a regular. I go in there a lot. I like the beer. The food is awesome. What's the inspiration behind Monk's?
Really, for me, it was, the country of Belgium is a country that is just very rich in food and culture, and really wanted to bring that type of experience to Roseville, my hometown, and have been in the beer business for a while. Always wanted to do my own thing, and this is kind of the culmination of 20 years of brewing.
20 years of brewing. Now, how do you drink the beer too? Is that part of the fun of
That's
beer
one of the
business?
worst parts of my job. Yes, quality control.
Okay, now, if I remember correctly, you and Paul, I had a business partner by the name of Paul myself back in the day, but you and Paul are in high school and you take a trip overseas and you kind of fell in love with that culture. Talk to us about what happened when you went on that foreign exchange trip.
Yeah, we were 17 at the time.
And you were drinking, is that right?
Of course. What's funny is we took a German airline, Lufthansa, and as soon as we got up into the air, international laws take over. So we were able to actually have some beers on the plane.
Oh, wow.
Which was kind of fun. But, it was a great experience. I stayed with a German family. And it was such a great experience for me because it really introduced me to just that kind of concept of beer and food and culture. And, it was not uncommon for me to be sitting at the dinner table or at least any family for that matter, to be offered a glass of wine or a beer, even at, 14, 15 years old. And it sounds a little bit silly to us, but it's not viewed as beer or alcohol isn't viewed as a drug or anything bad. And it's something that's viewed as a privilege that has to be done and drank responsibly, of course. But it's just it was a great experience.
It's what people do when they gather for a meal. Is you have something, a glass of wine or a beer. Now, you've transferred that, I guess that experience into a business in downtown Roseville. And talk to us about the environment or the atmosphere that one might feel when he walks in to Monk's.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, we wanted to build a place where someone walked in and just felt instantly warm and comfortable and welcomed. And we really tried to build this out like the old kind of public houses in Europe, where the name pub actually stems from public house, where this was a place where there was kind of a nexus for the community to come and talk about politics or sports or their community and how can we make our community better. And so what we really wanted to build was a place for people to come and hang out and have great conversations and have a great time. We don't have TVs in our place, which a lot of people, at first just couldn't understand why we wouldn't have a TV in a bar.
Yeah,
but-
the sports bar type of feel. I mean,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's a bar feel. Almost every one of them that you go into has got a football game on or a basketball game on.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, a lot of those people that were so critical and voiced their opinions when they first came, they now understand and they now love the fact that we don't have a TV, because they come and they have a conversation and they're just kind of there to have a good time.
What a concept! Looking people in the eye and having a conversation with them and talking to them and sharing a meal, sharing a cold beverage. What a concept! It seems so simple. And that no wonder it's always, whenever I go in there, it's crowded, right? And so you've got the indoor-outdoor thing. So you got the outdoor is kind of out there with the downtown Roseville streetscape area. And then you go in, it's actually really big when you get in there. I mean, how many people will that place hold?
Yeah, our max occupancy is about 269, so we can certainly pack it in there. And if you've been in there, you know that it's fairly narrow and goes back pretty far. It's about 40 by 150 feet. And what we've done is try to create little areas. I think you've seen that little couch area where someone can just go in there and grab a book and read. Or you can be more in the bar area where it's a little bit more like a lounge and a little more lively. But you can have those different experiences.
Talk to us about the beer. You've been making beer for a long time. What's the secret to make a good beer?
Passion. Honestly, I mean, it's if you don't have that passion, it's going to show in the finished product. I mean, anyone can put together a recipe of anything, but to me, this industry, the craft beer industry, has been built by people who have a passion and they want to make something different and better and unique. And like I said, you can follow a recipe, you can make a decent beer, but I think to make a truly great world-class beer, you have to have that passion.
Now, you went to UC Davis, and so you've got a background. You grew up in this area. Your local success going to UC Davis. Where did you learn to make the beer?
You know, that's a funny story. Actually, when I graduated from college, went back over to Europe, and just kind of that's where that ignited that passion again for that beer, food, and culture. Came back, and my one of my current partners, Paul Gould, was going to Sierra College at the time, and he suggested one of his forestry teacher taught how to make homebrew
nice.
beer. So I took that class and started making beer in my parents' basement, and just.
Oh, you took a class at Sierra. You had gone to UC Davis,
yes.
and then go back to Sierra to figure out how to.
Well, Davis was after. Yes, Davis was after the homebrew. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So you got your business partner Paul, and then you guys have another partner as well.
Tom Rotelli, our third partner. So it's nice because we all have kind of different areas that we're kind of focusing on in the business. Tom is kind of more of the foodie guy. So he's kind of looking more at our food side.
Okay.
Paul's kind of background is in operations management.
Okay.
And I, of course, are kind of on the beer side. So it's nice to have those kind of defined roles. And
beer, food, and operations. And you got the beer. Good for you. And that's a good spot to be. But you guys have great food. When I go in there, how would you characterize the food offering that you guys deliver?
It's, I guess you could describe it as gastropub, but it's really at its heart, it's just really good pub food, kind of European inspired. But, I think what I've told you before is we really make most things from scratch. I mean, we're grinding the beef fresh every single day, 3 cuts of steak for the burger. We bake an organic brioche bun for that burger. We make our own sausages, sauerkraut, pickle our own vegetables. It's really kind of at the heart of what we do is just everything is from scratch. So it's
now
really
you
high
use
quality.
the term pub food and you use the term gourmet, and I would say, as somebody who's eaten there a number of times, I put the emphasis on the gourmet. It's really, really good food. It is this is not an advertisement for Monks. This is a honest assessment of a place to go and have some great food. And obviously the beer is off the charts as well. It's very popular. But it's really a good place to go for lunch or a dinner, right? I mean, do you guys have how's the dinner crowd? Is it?
Yeah, the dinner crowd is great. That's really dinner, kind of happy hour dinner and later night is really where most of our, probably 90% of our business comes from. Lunch, you're right, lunch is very good. We've done some really nice kind of, I would say, cheaper options just to try to get more people down there for lunch. But downtown Roseville is in its infancy of its redevelopment, so a lot of people in and around Roseville don't automatically think to come to downtown Roseville, especially for lunch. When you have an hour to spend.
Would you say it's a crappy location?
I think it's a fantastic location, and really excited to be part of that redevelopment.
All right, there's a lot of cool things happening, but you're right. You are downtown sort of is overshadowed by the Galleria, which is probably the nicest shopping mall here in the Sacramento region. We've got the fountains. We've got all kinds of great restaurants, but a lot of those restaurants are not independently owned. They're part of the chains where you guys are an independently owned entrepreneurial restaurant. And how do you think that separates you from the chains?
One of the biggest compliments we get continually is that people love the fact that we're not a chain. I think this current market is kind of going away from those chains. They're looking for something unique and different and, like you said, independently operated. And they love the fact that we're in downtown Roseville. One thing we hear a lot of is people love that they don't have to go to downtown Sacramento or midtown Sacramento to get something unique and real. And that's kind of what we're offering Roseville. Something
unique and real right there in downtown Roseville. Talking with Andy Klein, president and co-founder of Monk's Cellars. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Andy about freedom and how building a business really is a step in the direction of creating freedom. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at HaneyBiz.com. Welcome back, and we are here with Andy Klein, president and co-founder of Monk's Cellars. So, Andy, we're talking during the break. The subject of freedom came up. We talked about freedom earlier in the day. What's freedom look like to Andy Klein?
For me, freedom really is having the opportunity to be the person that you want to be. And, as Warren was saying so eloquently earlier, it's just having those opportunities to do what you want to do, to be who you want to be. And, of course, we do have laws that limit those to excess, but it's being able to be the person you want to be and create something that you want to be.
And what you're creating at Monk's is incredible. And we have, as business people, we can do, we have freedom to build businesses any way that we want. What does your business look like in 5-10 years?
In our business plan, we wrote of possibly having up to 4 locations, not franchises, but 4 locations in different areas. So that's kind of the direction we're going. Of course, things change, midstream as you're going, just depending on what the market's doing. But really, for us, it's about that community and having a place for people to come and share their thoughts and ideas and aspirations, and being able to be the people they want to be.
Now, you grew up in Roseville, and you built your business in Roseville. You're really a community guy. How did you decide to locate your business in Roseville, the town that you grew up in?
Well, we actually, to be honest, we were first looking in kind of midtown, downtown Sacramento. And, we looked for a good year for a suitable location. And just in the end, we just decided that, Sacramento, as great of a town as it is, I think for what we wanted to build, we wanted to look a little bit more locally. So at the time, the Roseville Community Development Corporation was actively looking for people to come downtown. And so we did a little interview with them, and they loved our concept. And of course, me being a local guy and remembering what downtown Roseville used to be like before the Galleria and before the fountains, it was the place to be. It was the place to go watch a movie or go down with the family and have some ice cream or whatever. So we just felt with, the concept we wanted to do and to bring, we felt downtown Roseville was a better spot for us.
And what do you expect to see for downtown Roseville? That region is obviously changing a little bit. Old Town, there's Old Town, and for those of you that don't know, Old Town Roseville is across the railroad tracks from downtown Roseville. They're not quite connected. What do you see for the future of downtown Roseville and the Old Town area?
Yeah, it's you're right. They're not connected. I mean, there is a walkway that goes underneath the underpass there, and I think for years people have talked about having an overpass essentially that kind of connects the two, and I think ultimately that would be the best scenario. And it's so nice because downtown Roseville is really going in one direction. Old Town Roseville, it has such charm. It has such great unique buildings, and downtown Roseville is just becoming a little bit more modern. So I think there can be some really great synergy between the two locations, and I think ultimately that's kind of where it'll go.
And we talked about community during the break as well, and you were asking about Allegiant Giving. You've helped so much in our community. You've helped a tremendous amount with Allegiant Giving. What are your thoughts about entrepreneurs and giving back to the community?
I think it's so important. I think that we live in a challenging world, and creating that community kind of locally and reaching out to others that are kind of doing the same thing, which is really what attracted us to Allegiant Giving, is having multiple communities coming together to create a larger community that benefits. It's just this great snowball effect that just kind of makes better lives for other people, and really for us too. It's so nice because we go out to these events and support these other nonprofits and other communities, and then we see them come back to the pub. So it really comes full circle for us, and I think anyone who wants to start a business, community should be at the top of the business plan, because it's a given, it's a built-in community or a built-in customer base.
It is so it's not giving back to your community, especially in a business like Monk's or a restaurant, can actually it can be beneficial, almost like marketing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Mito asked the question. Mito with My Team Sphere, he's got this app that helps teams communicate. It can work in business. It can work on a sports team like a Little League team. It's a private network application, and he wanted me to pose the question, I think, to both guests today about how do you communicate? How do you communicate as a business owner with your team?
Yeah, I mean, hugely important in any business. So we, of course, have weekly meetings with the management team. We have a great app, Hot Schedules, that we do all of our scheduling with, and you can also send messages to specific segments of the business or the whole business. But we also have, one of us partners is there at the site 24 hours a day, and we're interacting with our employees on a daily basis. I mean, we have 45.
You guys are there
employees.
Somebody's there 24 hours a day?
Well, when the business is open. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we open at 11 a.m. and close at midnight on the weekend. So
owner on site, that really helps
exactly.
with the communication as well.
Yeah.
So just want to take a minute to thank you. I know we're running a little bit out of time. I'm getting my schedule a little off today, but I want to thank you for coming on the show today, Andy. You've shared a story. We've shared food at your restaurant. I've had a number of great experiences there, and I want to thank you for what you do in the community and what you're doing with Allegiant Giving. So thanks very much.
You're welcome, Mark. Thank you for having me.
And I also want to take a minute to thank Warren Smith for joining us on the show today. Warren was so gracious to offer up a couple of sets of tickets, which we were fortunate enough to give away very quickly to the Sac Republic game tonight. And I also want to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Limitless Limo, LL916. And one of our newer, I won't call them a new sponsor, but I was going to take a minute to share a quick story about, some of you guys don't know, I own a commercial landscaping company, and wanted a little shout out to Timmy Mulligan, who is jumped up and seizing an entrepreneurial opportunity within that business. So a little shout out to Timmy. Look forward to working with you to expand our commercial landscaping offerings. And then also a shout out to Taro and of McCooney's and Brian Bennett, Paul Martin's. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of the show. We had a little party at my house last Saturday before I went to Cabo, and Taro was there. He makes mean sushi, and Brian, he makes these real mean sliders over at Paul Martin's, and these guys kind of had a kind of like a chef off type thing where they are competing with one another to provide some great food, and I want to thank those guys for coming out and joining me and providing the food. Two other fine restaurants in town. Monk's is definitely a go-to, but I also want to just shout out to McCooney's. If you're in the mood for sushi, they are there. Then Paul Martin's down the street as well. Roseville is really got some great restaurants, my friends. And I will be back in just a minute with some closing thoughts about freedom. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, broadcasting from Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at HaneyBiz.com. We've been talking freedom. I mean, can you imagine the way our founding fathers felt back July 4th, 1776, when the Continental Congress signed the Declaration of Independence, signaling to the world that the original 13 colonies were now the new nation of America. Freedom. I mean, they must have felt so alive, right? I'm here with Marcus Haney. Been talking freedom. Marcus, I mean, any takeaways from today's show?
That a little what you just said there really gave me chills throughout my arms, thinking about what this country has been through to be where it is, to have that freedom. And I think Warren said something great, and there's a couple Facebook Live comments that freedom isn't free, folks. There's people out there fighting every day for what we have in this country, and I just want to tip my hat to those heroes out there.
And even as a kid, we're taught that you've got to earn your freedom, right? It's just sort of the American way is if you work hard, anything is possible, and freedom, it's so elusive because there's different levels of freedom. We all are free to make our own decisions, but the better decisions that we make, the more freedom that we end up getting. And you talked earlier in the show about freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, for as long as you want,
with whoever I want,
whoever you want. And I mean, freedom makes you feel alive, right? When I come on the show in the morning, on Saturday mornings, I feel alive. But courage changes everything. And I think, when you have courage, it gives you that confidence to go fight for your freedom, to go earn that freedom, to go do something different, build a different menu, build a different soccer experience. And the right partners help us find that courage, right? The right partners help us find that courage, and they help us to feel alive. And we were in Cabo earlier, and we were sharing stories with Tom Candris and our friends Rick and Rita and Tom's wife Teresa and my wife Stacy, and we were all talking about how we met each other and that kind of thing, and the partnership that we have. And you know what? My first date with my wife was December 31st, 1983, New Year's Eve. And she, when I dropped her off, and I shared this story when we were in Cabo, I dropped her off, and I just had this feeling of being alive. I just felt alive. And I think that relation, we knew that it was something that was going to last right there at the beginning, even right after the first date. And it was a cool feeling. I think that relationship, she's my rock, and I think that relationship, that partner of mine has really given me the courage to chase my dreams, to chase whatever it is in business. And my brother Paul, business partner, after we built the video stores, and we ended up buying out my older brother Byron, right? And it was just me and Paul against the world building the business. And I just remember feeling after we bought out Byron, I felt so alive. It was like freedom to build whatever we wanted. And Paul and I, were able to chase those dreams. But Paul gave me the courage, right? I knew with Paul handling the finance stuff, I could go out there and build security camera businesses and create relationships and just do crazy stuff in this world of security and in the world of video stores. And so that right business partner, it gave me that courage. And I just, as I think about entrepreneurship and think about my current business partners, look, I'm not that good at commercial landscaping or real estate or stamped concrete or limo business or casino surveillance, all these different businesses that we got going. You know what? If I didn't have these business partners, I can tell you what, guys, I would not have the courage and I would not feel alive. And as I think about this first year of the radio show and the team that we've got here helping me build that, every morning when I come in here on Saturday, I feel so alive. And the listeners, there's developed some cool friends that are listening to this show and that are that help own this show with us. I really feel like my team here and the listeners, they're kind of like my partners.
Absolutely.
Right? You're my partners, and when I'm around you guys, I feel alive. You give me the courage to chase my dreams. And so thank you for this first year. Deep down inside, I really hope that somehow we found a little way of giving you a little bit of courage too, helping you to have some courage to build your dreams like a business partner can. God bless all the courageous fighting men and women that make this entrepreneurship thing even possible for the rest of us. Never above you, never below you, always by your side.